Hi, I'm Amy. I work in the Marketing, Comms and Research team at Crown Commercial Service. The purpose of this session is to provide an overview of the current Research Marketplace DPS and also to tell you about our plans for the next iteration. I'm going to give you the timelines for the next procurement and advise on next steps, but mostly this is to invite you to send us your questions, comments, thoughts, meanderings. If you could send all your questions to us via email, that would be perfect. There's further details on how to do that in the last slide. You'll be glad to know there's no more than 8 slides in total, and I'll be talking for about 20 minutes. So first off, just to give you a quick look at who we are and how we're organised, it's particularly useful to know whereabouts we sit should you need to navigate through CCS in the future. You'll see here on the slide that we're Executive Agency of the Cabinet Office and what it is that we do to help the public sector and how CCS is organised into the different pillars and where we sit. So the next slide here is to look at the category overview. So we are part of the Marketing, Communications and Research category. And you'll see under that, Research and Insights is one of the subcategories, and then below that again, we've got the Research Marketplace DPS and where the next iteration will sit as well. So moving on to the meat of the session, this is all about the Research Marketplace as it is at the moment. So I'll start at the top of the wheel with what it is. The Research Marketplace is a dynamic purchasing system, or DPS, as you'll see throughout this. Is a bit different to our traditional framework agreements, if any of you are familiar with those. It's a bit more flexible, as in you're not locked in for the entirety of the agreement term. It's also just a one-stage process for onboarding. It utilises filters to make sure there's a relevant service offering, and it supports localism because it uses regional locations. This current DPS runs until February 2022, which is why we are planning the re-procurement now. There's an extensive scope of work that can be commissioned under this DPS. It's social, market, economic research, and also insights for communication campaigns. The filters used within it cover 4 main sort of top-level areas. There's subject area, research method, participant group, and location. Underneath these, though, sit around 151 subgroups and options, which hopefully cover all aspects of market, social and economic research. When you register onto the DPS, you will self-register your capabilities, and you can amend these throughout the life of the agreement. So to jump on to the next point there about how it works. So access for customers is via call-off competition. Direct award isn't available. You'd be notified of any new opportunities either via the CCS e-sourcing portal or a customer's e-sourcing portal or via email. The point here, though, is that it's not directly from the DPS system itself. The DPS system is where you register, where you list your service offering, but any competition goes on outside of that system. I do suggest, though, that you use a group or a generic email address for your contact details on the DPS system so that when customers export that list, it just makes sure that opportunities reach you. Buyers create the shortlist I just mentioned by selecting the different filters to create a shortlist of suppliers with the necessary skills for their specific requirement. The shortlist is only valid for 2 days because there's a refresh of the list all of the time. Suppliers are joining, suppliers are leaving. So we say to customers that they must refresh the list after 2 days to make sure that newly appointed people are included. Should note though, once a call for competition is published to market, when it's live, new suppliers appointed to the DPS after that live point cannot be retrospectively added. So if you happen to know of an opportunity coming up, it's good to get cracking as soon as possible to make sure that you're registered a day or 2 before the competition is published. Speaking of bidding, if you would like to bid as a consortium, you have to join forces with those other companies and apply to the DPS as a joint venture. Alternatively, you can always bid as the lead supplier and utilise key subcontractors, although they'll need to be named in your bid as being on the contracts and be really clear about what aspects they would be delivering. The subcontractors themselves wouldn't need to be registered to the DPS. The next spike there is about the benefits. The benefits of the DPS, mostly the fact that it's an automated electronic process, even signing off the T's and C's. There's no printing to be done. It's all online. Makes the whole process a bit more streamlined. It's flexible. Like I said before, suppliers can join anytime. There's an unlimited amount of suppliers. We don't cap it. And whilst you can join whenever you like, you can also leave whenever you like. If you feel like it's no longer serving you and you don't want to be on the agreement anymore, you can leave with no penalties, although obviously we hope you don't. It's a simpler, quicker process to actually onboard compared to a traditional framework agreement. So to get onto the DPS, it consists of a selection stage only. There's no essay type quality stage questions, no pricing evaluation, and also you're only obliged to have the assurance documentation in place if you win work under the agreement. So you don't need to have it in place in order to onboard the DPS. You just have to promise that you'll get those things in place when you actually win a contract. And by assurance documentation, I mean things like a Cyber Essentials certificate and various insurance like professional indemnity, employer liability, and public liability, things like that. You'll also have access to buyers across, I think it's slightly over 1,400 public sector organisations now. And the fact that there's a filtering of services. So you all self-select the services you can provide from lists that are on the DPS system, meaning that hopefully you shouldn't receive opportunities that aren't relevant to you. Of course, some are always going to slip through the net, but we're working on improving that now and making sure the filters are rational and that the service descriptors mean the same thing to you as they do to customers. But hopefully this means that opportunities will be delivered to you that are actually relevant and that you'll want to bid on without cluttering up your time or your mailbox. Also, very important, you can update your service offering as often as you like. So if you onboarded next week and your business changed, doesn't have to be significantly, within the next few weeks, you can just log on, update your service offering and reflect any of those changes in your business. It's very solutions focused. So we're very much encouraging commissions that are not too prescriptive, and also to evaluate for value beyond price savings. We're looking for requirements that are very outcome focused to allow you as the subject matter experts to offer or suggest fit for purpose solutions. As part of this sort of outcomes based push, we're offering the opportunity for customers to include pre-market engagement. We're very keen on that. Extended compliance, capability assessment, and maybe not face-to-face, maybe video-to-video pitches, as well as the standard written evaluation on quality and price. And this is all at call-off level. So basically, we're offering more opportunities to explore and discuss and allow time for the customer to prepare both their requirement and the market. That leads me nicely on to the next point here, which is what additional support is available. So aside from myself and my team, we're the category team, we're here to help with any questions that you might have at any time, both if you're looking to onboard and if you're a current supplier and have an issue. That's what we're here for. We also have a dedicated DPS team which sits within Crown Commercial Service, and they are responsible for helping people through the process to onboard to the DPS. We also have a support team based in NQC. They are the people who built the DPS platform. So any technical query, any issues with getting onto the system itself, they're the people to go to. They're very professional, very friendly, and very, very quick. They're absolutely brilliant. We're also creating new guidance and a document suite of templates for customers to use when they're going out with their further competitions, which hopefully will provide you with a bit more consistency across opportunities. That's the plan. On to the next bit about contractual considerations. So this requirement will be and is contracted on the DPS terms and conditions, which have to be accepted by you when you register. They're non-negotiable. You can have a look at them when you go along to the registration page. There's a bid pack zip file that you can download and have a look there before you even begin the process to register. So you can have a look to see what you're signing up to make sure you're happy. If any of you have seen government terms and conditions before, you'll know the couple of things I'm about to mention are a mere drop in the ocean, but these are things that might be missed and I really wanted to highlight. So first of all, the issue around contract management. We like to do regular performance review meetings. That sounds a little more onerous than it actually is. It's normally myself or someone in my team having a 20-minute phone conversation to make sure everything's going well, making sure you're happy, and just sorting out any issues as soon as possible. The supplier assurance documentation, I mentioned this before about cyber essentials and insurance. This is required, but only at call-off level. So if you win work underneath this agreement, you'll need to make sure you've got those lined up, ready to go. The other thing is the monthly obligation to submit management information. And that is all about if you win work and you're invoiced and you put that information into our spreadsheets to give to our finance team. And the reason you do that is so that we can then charge you 1% levy on all of your invoices. So the cost of being on a CCS framework or DPS agreement is 1% on all your invoices. The percentages change between different agreements, but for the Research Marketplace DPS, it's 1%. This levy is invoiced monthly, so that's why we ask for the management information to be submitted every month. Of course, if you haven't won any work under the agreement, you can quite simply go into the system and hit nil return, and that will be more than enough to be your contractual obligation under this particular section. The next bit is which customer sectors are we targeting? This is a really easy one. Everybody. We seem to see a need at all levels. All sectors seem to require the same kind of research output, only the subject matter really changes. Okay, so that's everything on the current offering. The next bit is just some key considerations on the renewal. So again, I'll start at the top of the circle with expanding the scope. So we'll be continuing with the main drivers for research, the social market, economic research and insight for comms campaigns. The intention is to branch out a little bit further into other subject areas such as behavioural insights, a little bit into research and development and research related to laboratory services, for instance. The intention is to merge the Research Marketplace and our current behavioural insights framework, and then allow that behavioural insights framework to lapse in February 2022. Research already has the scope of insights, so it made sense to create one route, one place for customers to go for all their research and insights needs. In terms of increasing duration, previously, most agreements have had a maximum shelf life of 4 years. In this instance, we've decided to go out for 6 years with no limit on call-off duration whatsoever. which stakeholders are involved in this procurement? So just to let you know the kinds of groups that we've been talking to, we have been liaising with the Cabinet Office, GCS Insights and Evaluation Forum, the Government Social Research Group, many existing customers that we identified from our own engagement and from our Customer Experience Directorate, but also the trade bodies, Market Research Society and Social Research Association, and most importantly, you. The next one here is about how we are staying in touch. So far, for yourselves, we've sent out a pin, which you will have all seen because that's how you've reached here today. Various surveys, individual conversations. We had some face-to-face workshops pre-COVID. These recorded sessions are part of it, but we're also reaching out via trade bodies, and we'll be reaching out more individually as months go by. On the customer side of things, we have a commercial marketing forum, surveys, working groups galore, webinars, and reaching through the one-to-one calls as well. I've popped a section here about the public sector contract. The new DPS will use the public sector contract, which is made up of 3 parts. The first one is the core terms and conditions. Those apply both to DPS schedules and the call-off schedules. Secondly, you have the joint schedules, which again apply to all of the packages of this particular contract. And then you have the DPS order schedules, which apply to call-off only. These are the bits that can be amended or added to depending on the customer's requirement. There's examples of these and how they work together on the gov.uk website, so you can pop along now and have a look to get an idea of what it looks like and familiarise yourself a little bit more. The final section on this page is how to apply. So the intention is to go into a bit more detail about this nearer the time, but I wanted to talk to you about it at a very high level. So applications will open for you October 2021 and will be through the supplier registration system. You'll need to go and register on there if you haven't already. The application process requires you to complete an electronic submission. There's actually 2 selection questionnaires. There's a generic selection questionnaire for the system itself, and then there will be a research DPS specific questionnaire. Following submitting those, you'll enter what we call an assessing stage. CCS then reviews the submission and conducts various checks. Assuming all is well and this stage is passed, your status will change to agreeing, which is when you can then review the terms and conditions, make sure you're happy, click accept, and that makes you appointed to the DPS and you will be visible on shortlists for customers. I've popped here in brackets existing suppliers too. That's something I really need to note and make clear, that because it will be a brand new agreement with new terms and conditions and slightly different scope, existing DPS suppliers will still need to reapply. Unfortunately, the appointment to the current DPS is not automatically transferred. So the next slide I'm moving to will show you the procurement timelines. So obviously you'll know the PIN was released in August, that's how you found us. Pre-market engagement continues sort of January to February time. The procurement documents will be drafted throughout the middle of next year. Ready for the ODU release, and that is when this particular procurement will be live for you to apply, and that's October 2021. We'll begin appointing successful suppliers between October and November 2021, but obviously appointing suppliers can carry on throughout the life of the agreement for the next 6 years. I've put go live there November 2021 because according to procurement regulations, it's 30 days between the time you go live to when customers can start actually using the product. There's a bit of time between when customers can start using it until the old product expires in February 2022, and that's here listed here as a transition period. And right at the bottom, just to make it really clear, the expiry of the current agreement is February 2022. So what happens next? This is to invite you to ask us clarification questions. As I mentioned, they'll all be collected, answered as thoroughly as possible, and then shared back with you. Obviously, all the questions will be anonymised, but if you want to ask us something that's a bit more confidential and you'd rather we didn't share it, that's absolutely fine. Just make it really clear on your email, and I'll make sure not to share that one. I've popped the email address here, and but this isn't the only time we'll be talking to you. So we will be setting up further webinars, further sessions next year, not only to update on the things that I've talked to you about today, but also to address any questions that you might raise after this, and also to provide a bit more detail on the specification and what sort of scope there'll be. Hopefully at that point we'll be able to share with you the filters, and you'll be able to see the whole list and feedback on that. I'm also going to talk to you much more in depth about the instructions for the application process. I've said here we've got links, screenshots, videos, access to support teams. There'll be all manner of jazzy ways of showing you how to get through the whole journey beginning to end. And finally, there's just some useful links here. So the one in the middle, in the teal colour, the supplier registration service for DPS Marketplace, that is where you can go to start your application straight away. Obviously, the new Research DPS isn't live until next October, but you can always start the standard selection questionnaire now without doing the second one. So that just means that half the work's done by the time you come around to next year. To the left in the bright yellow bubble is a video which demonstrates your journey completely from the beginning to the end. Obviously, even if you're not looking to join the current DPS right now and you'd like to wait until the new one, that's absolutely fine. The journey is likely to be pretty much exactly the same. So if you want to have a look at what that will look like, please do. It won't change that much. The purple bubble links you through to some information about CCS in general, why we could be useful to you, why you might want to sign up to us. It's just some really high-level information that might be useful. And then obviously our contact details, the info at Crown Commercial and the phone number goes through to our main customer service desk. They're absolutely brilliant and know where to find us if you can't get hold of us. But that is our team address at the top there, the Marcoms and Research at crowncommercial.gov.uk. That reaches all 12 of us in our team, so there'll always be somebody available to pick up anything that you send through. As I said, please do email us with your comments and questions. We'll collect all of those questions and answer them and share out again with you. The intention is to share those and this with you directly via email, but we're also going to be publishing it on our webpage, and we'll send that link to you as well. I think I mentioned before, but the questions will be anonymised, and if you'd rather it be confidential, just let me know and I'll make sure that's not shared. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to all of this. I hope it was useful, and hope to hear from you soon. Take care.